JJ, nothing but net. I still got it. You ready to talk some NCAA basketball?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Welcome to Breakdown. Today is Monday, March 28th, and we're talking NCAA. One more again. JJ, let's talk SEC Big Ten first.
All right, let's do it.
Uh, the Sweet 16 was the end of the road for the Big Ten.
Unfortunately, so.
The SEC survived until the Elite Eight.
Yeah.
The records for the SEC and the Big Ten in the tournament for 2021, last year, the SEC was 7-6, the Big Ten was 8-9. This year, the SEC was 5-6, and the Big Ten repeated their 8-9 performance. Uh, what's your take on the fact that neither the SEC nor the Big Ten has a team in the Final Four? What's your take on that?
It's not a bright spot for either conference, and it's something that they're going to need to address. Both conferences.
The last time the SEC and the Big Ten were in the Final Four was 2019.
Yeah.
What was the schools? Michigan State and Auburn were the two teams that represented.
And to be fair, no one was in the Final Four in 2020.
True.
Yeah.
So we've gone 2 years. This will be 2 years in a row with the Big Ten and SEC missing the. How surprised are you by the play of both conferences during the tournament?
I was a little surprised. I was pretty surprised. I was a little more surprised by the SEC than the Big Ten. The SEC was a little worse than they were last year. Whereas the Big Ten was about on par with the record last year. Also, the SEC didn't have any seeds lower than 6, so
Yeah.
they had a lot of teams that were expected to win more games than they did. So I was a little surprised from both conferences, a little more so for the SEC, but
Last week I asked if there were a savior for the SEC. How close did Arkansas come to being that savior for the SEC?
well, they ended the first half against Duke. I think that was like the beginning of the end for them, the end of the first half. So they weren't as close in that game as I would have preferred them to be.
Okay.
But
Had they made it to the Final Four, would that have saved the SEC as a conference?
I don't believe that is true for college basketball specifically, more so than any other sport. I mean, St. Peter's made it to the Elite Eight. I don't think if they made it to the Final Four, that would have been like savior for the MAAC. I think when you only have one team, I think one school could be an exception to whatever narrative you want to present, or an exception to the rule. It doesn't necessarily present the narrative, but
Well, let me ask you this: if you were the commissioner of the Big Ten or the commissioner of the SEC, which commissioner is happier with the results of the tournament, this year's tournament? Which is the more happy?
I would say the SEC is probably happier than the Big Ten, just because they have newer coaches, and they have more turnover in their upcoming coaches and everything like that. So I think that they'd be more happier. Also, they won the NCAA football championship, and that's what they care about most in the SEC. So
Well, JJ, give me a grade.
okay,
Give me a grade for the SEC and the Big Ten. Do whichever one you want to do it first.
okay, I'm gonna give the Big Ten a C minus. I'm gonna give the SEC a D plus.
Okay, a C minus and a D plus.
Yeah.
You want to explain why you give the grades that you give?
Yeah, the SEC only had one team in the Sweet 16 or Elite 8. Only one team make it to the second weekend, and that was Arkansas. They did go further than the Big Ten by making it to Elite 8, but the Big Ten did have 2 teams in the Sweet 16, so you had twice as many teams make it to the second weekend. Um, I would just say that neither school was astounding. Neither school made it to the Final Four. But the SEC, Kentucky got embarrassed. Like St. Peter's will hang on to them for a while. I mean,
Is that worse than Appalachia State?
well, no, just because of the sequence of events that followed, it led to Rich Rod and Brady Hoke, and it led to a lot of problems for Michigan. I don't think that it will be the same situation for Kentucky.
Okay.
Um,
So a C minus and a D plus.
yeah.
Okay. So both conferences got their work cut out for them. Uh,
As it pertains to tournament, I think the Big Ten and the SEC both have pretty good regular season coaches.
okay. Well, this year's story. What is the story so far in the tournament? I asked you this question last week. I'm just gonna see if there anything changed. I mean, we got Coach K as a potential. We have the ACC. We have St. Peter's. We have East Coast, West Coast. How many West Coast teams in the Final Four this year, JJ?
It's all blue bloods, and none of them are UCLA. So
Okay. So what is the story in the tournament this year?
St. Peter's is the story.
It's still St.
It's
Peter's.
not even close.
The ACC getting two teams in the Final Four. The biggest rivalry in college basketball, Duke and North Carolina, playing in the Final Four. Can't compete with St. Peter's.
No.
Okay, so Cinderella came to the dance wearing sneakers and dressed as a pelican, and they stole the show. That's what you're telling me.
I'm telling you, the St. Peter's. When I'm going to remember from the 2022 NCAA tournament is the St. Peter's Peacocks.
Coach K's last year of coaching, got a shot of winning it all.
This season isn't ended, so it's not fair for me. It's like when people like debate LeBron and Jordan when LeBron's career isn't over. It seems like kind of foolhardy to do so at that moment in time. I mean, I guess there's a scenario that exists in which case, Duke Blue Devils could go into a 5 overtime game against North Carolina, and then like a 7 overtime game again, and then that would be the story. But independent of that happening, it's going to be the St. Peter's Peacocks.
Okay. Well, on the ACC got 4 teams into the tournament.
They did.
Did the selection committee underrate the ACC? Because they had 3 in the Elite Eight.
They didn't underrate the ACC based on the metrics that they used. The selection committee takes data from the entire season.
Okay. Do you think that the ranking, the net rankings and the Ken Palmgren rankings, do you think that there is some kind of structural problem that they have? Because they're always giving the Big Ten super elevation. I mean, they won't get if they lose to another Big Ten team, it's no big deal. But if an ACC team loses to another, had North Carolina lost to Duke, North Carolina may not even, their last game of the season, may not even made it to the tournament.
Yeah.
Is there a problem with the net rating and the Ken Palmgren ratings and all these other ratings in your mind?
No.
No? Okay.
No.
Okay. If this same thing happened next year, would you reconsider?
No.
No. If it happened 3 years in a row,
No.
would you
If you flip the coin and you got heads, and then you flip the coin and you got heads again, and you flip the coin and you got heads again, would you reconsider like the coin? That
probability
Yeah.
of it coming up heads? You know what? But this is supposed to be more accurate than coin flipping.
Is it?
It's supposed to be.
Says who?
Me?
Oh, okay. Well,
Otherwise, don't use it. Flip a coin.
interesting.
Okay, JJ, we talked a little bit about Coach K. Talk about his accomplishment, if you would, for a moment.
No, he's won 5 championships. Been to a lot of Final Fours.
He's won 5. This is his 13th one. Who are his equals in the coaching business?
I would say the late great John Wooden was more successful than him.
Yeah.
his mentor, who he's no longer on speaking terms with. He played for Bob Knight at West Point. I think he's surpassed Bob Knight.
So he and Bob Knight are no longer speaking.
Oh yeah, they're on speaking terms. They weren't even on speaking terms when Bob Knight inducted Coach K into the Hall of Fame. Like that was one of the times Bob Knight wanted Coach K wanted to give him an opportunity to extend an olive branch, and Bob Knight, the stubborn man that he is, did not accept it. And now there are rumors that he has dementia. He definitely has some type of health issues, but I think there's some rumors that it's dementia,
Okay.
and so like that reconciliation might never manifest.
So I want to digress a little bit. Why are they not on speaking terms? Do you know? Because I don't know.
Bob Knight is jealous of Coach K in a lot of terms. Bob Knight didn't like how Coach K was coached the Olympics and didn't pass the baton because Bob Knight, coached the Olympics. Every coach before Coach K passed the baton, and didn't go to multiple Olympics. But
Okay.
and Coach K is egomaniacal to me. That's it, he appears to be that way to me, so I understand it. But Bob Knight is the worst of two evils. I feel like
Okay.
when debating those two, so I'm not a big fan of his.
So when we mentioned Coach K's equal, you mentioned Wooden being surpassing him, Bobby Knight being below him.
I'd say he's right in between Wooden and Bob Knight.
Okay. So if you had to grade his coaching career, it would be an A plus.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
Okay. Well, JJ, we're going to get to the Final Four. As you said earlier, even though the tournament is extremely unpredictable, the Final Four is made up of blue bloods.
The bluest of blue bloods this year.
Arguably, all four teams are the blue blood. No Cinderella making it. No everyday average team. It's the team with the history of basketball. They're there. I want you to break down the matchups for me. Break down the teams to match up, because we want to give the people a winner before we leave here today. So, the first game, Villanova in Kansas. How would you break that down?
I would say that Kansas's rabbit's foot in their pocket seems to keep on chugging along. They get to face a Villanova team that doesn't have its second leading scorer, its most athletic perimeter defender, and dynamic interior driver in Justin Moore, who ruptured his Achilles.
Okay,
So I would imagine Remy Martin and OJ Abaji are gonna, in the rest of the Kansas backcourt, Christian Braun, I imagine that they're gonna feast on Villanova.
So you're telling me that Kansas has the best backcourt, and I'm going to agree with you there. I want you to tell me, how often do you think, and I don't have an answer to this, but this is just a guesstimate. How often would the team with the best backcourt win in the tournament? If you had to guess a percentage, I mean, this is just a guess. I mean, no one has taken an empirical analysis of this, to my knowledge.
I don't know. I think it's been more relevant the past 10 years.
Okay.
But I'm trying to remember. Like last year, I know Houston made the Final Four. Who?
Baylor won it all.
UCLA, Baylor, and Gonzaga. Baylor had the best backcourt. They had Davion Mitchell, Jared Butler, and
Gonzaga
Macy
had
Ot.
subs last year.
Yeah, one guy. And once he got in foul trouble, I mean, they didn't have a chance.
Well, what I'm trying to do is trying to figure out how, in today's game, especially at the collegiate level, how important is the backcourt for winning in the tournament? And I'm beginning to think that if you have the better backcourt, you got to have some awful powerful front court to overcome that to win. And that's just my take. You agree, disagree, or have your own opinion?
I think to a certain extent, that's true. I think Purdue had a better backcourt than St. Peter's, but Purdue. I think okay. So one of the reasons the ACC, a couple reasons the ACC didn't have as much teams in and they were lower seeded, is because the way that the selection committee does things, it doesn't account for like growth and development over the course of a season. A win in September is equal to a win in February, but one is more important when it comes to momentum and how you're currently playing, and also like if you have a lot of young freshmen, like the development over the course of the season, how you're playing lately is more important. But another reason the ACC was so successful is the ACC knows how to play a zone because the ACC brought in Syracuse not too long ago, like the architect of the 2-3 zone, the zone that befuddled Purdue that they really couldn't do anything with. It's funny when you see that so often in March where you can tell which teams have never run into a zone because there's teams with talent disparities such as Purdue versus St. Peter's, and
Well, teams tend to change up. I know Purdue mostly plays man to man, but they go to zone in certain situations. Their zone kind of hurt Arkansas pretty badly, I thought.
Yeah, but a lot of teams in the Big Ten do not use a zone, and they don't use it for as long.
Okay. Okay.
You've heard the adding to the best thing to do against a pressing team is to press them.
Right.
So like Purdue does the play a zone, but they don't have to face it as frequently, and I think that that's one of the things that benefited the ACC is that they all have to see Syracuse. They all and
So they know how to play against the zone.
so yeah. So I said all that to say this because you brought up the backcourt thing, and that really made me think of like Purdue. Well, like Purdue had a superior backcourt, but they still didn't get the result against St. Pete's because of how effective they were with the zone.
What about Kentucky's backcourt against St. Peter's?
That's a whole nother story. Like there's so they were psychologically I think very unprepared. There's a lot of Kentucky fans. I was on a blog and they were talking about how there's a lot of people that were in this stadium with the Kentucky team saw them look more nervous than they'd ever looked in life. And this is like the oldest team in Kentucky history. And you have 24-year-old Davion Mintz, 24-year-old Kellen Grady. You have like these fifth-year seniors, these transfers, and they had this nervousness and everything like that. So I don't know what that was about.
Okay. Just really quickly before we move. No, you go ahead. You because
No, nothing.
Before we move, pick an Elite Eight game, and I'll just say here, I'm gonna just look and see, and tell me which team had the better backcourt, Kansas and Providence.
Kansas.
I'm sorry, I should have said Kansas, Miami.
Kansas.
Nova or Houston.
Well, after the injuries, I would go with Villanova.
Okay.
And then that was someone get injured.
Duke, Arkansas.
Duke had. I'd go Duke.
Okay. St. Peter's, UNC.
I'm gonna go with UNC.
Okay. What I'm trying to point out is that I'm thinking that if you start paying more attention to a team backcourt, it might give you a slight advantage in deciding who to pick.
I've been saying that for years. I've been saying the NCAA tournament is dictated by guard play.
Indeed, you have.
And Michigan State goes as far as Tom Izzo's point guard.
I understand that.
That's a common.
When I heard you say that, but I have almost always tend to focus when you say that. I would think strictly of the point guard and not the entire backcourt.
It's not about point guard, shooting guard anymore. It's about ball handling guards. It's about guards that can create. Your shooting guard has to it's about positionless basketball. This is the era that we are now currently in. It's not just about your point guard. Both of your guards have to be able to initiate offense. They have to be able to create for themselves or for other people, but you have to create offense for somebody.
Okay. So you were giving me a breakdown of the Villanova-Kansas game.
Yeah.
And then after you do that, I want you to do. Were you done with the Villanova-Kansas?
I would just say that Villanova is incredibly well coached. They're incredibly structurally sound. I think that they are still on pace to go down as having the best free throw shooting season of any of like the Power 6 conference teams.
Okay.
and even without Justin Moore, they don't turn the ball over, and they don't beat themselves. So Kansas will have to beat them, but Kansas, Kansas has the guards to do so, and they have the matchup advantage to do it.
Okay, break me down North Carolina and Duke. This is probably the most famous basketball rivalry in the sports. Break it down for me. It means more now because we're in the Final Four, but break this down for me.
Yeah. So North Carolina is playing without any pressure whatsoever. You have a lot of veterans on that team. You have fifth-year transfers and Brady Manick. You have four-year players in Leaky Black. You have all of these guys for North Carolina that weather the storm. And Duke has a lot of upstarts, a lot of freshmen. You have Mark Williams, the sophomore, Theo John, the fifth-year transfer from Marquette. But there's a lot of relying on Jeremy Roach, AJ Griffin, Paolo Banchero, a lot of these freshmen. And I think it really comes down to I thought that Duke had the most talent, but that they wouldn't have the mental fortitude to make it this far past Texas Tech, even based on all the pressure with this being Coach K's last ride and all of that. But this is just a completely different matchup. The last time Duke and North Carolina were in the Final Four the same year, I believe, was 1992. Not only are in the same Final Four, they're playing one another, and it's like, this is like the rivalry game of all rivalry games. I honestly have no idea what to take from it. I just can't wait to just put some popcorn on and watch. But
During the regular season, these two teams split.
yeah, during the regular season, two teams split. North Carolina destroyed Duke at Duke. Duke destroyed North Carolina at North Carolina.
Yeah.
Caleb Love put up 30 points in the North Carolina's last game. The game before that, R.J. Davis hit the two backcourt players for North Carolina. R.J. Davis was the one that put up 30 points. The leading scorer is Brady Manick, the transfer from Oklahoma. He's one of the best three-point shooters in the country. Mm-hmm. AJ Griffin is a freshman for Duke from White Plains, New York, and he's one of the best shooters in the country. He's having one of the statistically greatest shooting years of anybody. So you have to account for him. He's dynamic, and Jeremy Roach is just so fast. He was just so fast. And
so JJ, based on my comments from a few minutes ago, this North Carolina Duke game, which team has the better backcourt?
You tell me.
If I could tell you, I would know who's going to win the game. I'm asking you.
You tell me. You can extrapolate what I just said, or you can tell me based on what you watch. But what do you think? R.J. Davis and Caleb Love, or AJ Griffin?
I say Duke. That's my take on it. That's my take on it. We'll see who wins the rubber match Saturday.
Indeed, we will.
The primetime game. So JJ, you've given me a breakdown. Give me a winner for each game.
I'm gonna take North Carolina to beat Duke.
JJ, I'm gonna write this down.
And I will have Kansas beating a hobbled Villanova.
Okay.
Who do you have?
I have Kansas and Duke because I'm going with the backcourts.
Okay.
That's my take on it. And then in a few minutes, JJ, I'm going to ask you to pick the winner between your Kansas and North Carolina team. But before we do that, I want to talk really, really quickly about transfers.
Okay.
Last year, transfers were very, very, very important in the Final Four. How significant are the transfers this year?
Largely insignificant. I would say that there are three transfers that stand out, and then
and those three transfers are.
I
know Brady
Manick from Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Remy Martin, the Arizona State transfer to Kansas.
Okay.
He averaged 8 points in the regular season. He's been averaging 17 in the tournament.
Remy Martin is a pretty good drink too.
I know. I know you think so.
All right, go ahead.
And I was gonna say just the three were Brady Manick, Remy Martin. I was gonna say Theo John, the backup center from Duke. But now with Justin Turner's injury for Villanova, I will say they have Justin Moore. I'm sorry. They have a transfer named Caleb Daniels from Tulane who averages about 10 to 12 points a game. He's gonna play a pivotal role
Okay.
more so now. He's going to see a lot more the time, more court time with Justin Moore out.
Okay. Two more questions before we wrap this up. First question. You got Kansas and Duke in your national championship game.
Yeah,
Give me the winner.
Kansas
Kansas.
easily. Yes. No, wait. No. I don't have Duke in the you.
I'm
I'm
sorry.
talking about you.
Kansas. Did I say Duke? I meant to say North Carolina because I'm looking at it right here on my.
You're looking at you. You're probably looking at yours.
I'm looking at yours. Kansas, North
Well,
Carolina.
you said Duke, and
Okay.
I don't have Duke.
But okay. I'm sorry. I misspoke. But you still picking Kansas over North Carolina
Yeah.
easily?
Yep.
Which team has the better between these two teams, Kansas and North Carolina? Which team has the better backcourt?
Well, Kansas has the best backcourt of any team left in the field, so I'm gonna let you figure out who.
Well, now I know who I'm picking to win it all.
Okay.
Who am I picking to win it all?
Who are you gonna pick? Duke.
Hey, I'm a Jaybird. For this tournament, it's Kansas. In my mind, it's Kansas. Before we get out of here, JJ, one last question. When this ends, are you going to be happy that you won't have to deal with the Capital One commercials with Spike Lee, Charles Barkley, and Samuel L. Jackson?
I will be happy. I feel like I've been in a day with those commercials, but not as happy as I will be to see the end of the AT&T March Madness commercials.
Well said. Well said.
Because I have had about my fill of that.
Well, all I can say before I turn the lights out is WPS. We'll pick Sweet. We didn't make it this year. We're getting close. Anything else, JJ?
I'll just say again, the Big Ten went as far as Michigan was able to take them. They went to the Sweet 16, and that's as far as they went.
I still got it, JJ. I still got it. Peace out. Y'all be good. Come back next time. Leave a comment.